The church seems to be crumbling from within. A current of relativism, compromises and deceptions is eroding faith, as tradition fades and truth is reduced to mere opinion. Bishop Schneider denounces the sinister conspiracy that is tearing Catholicism apart. We're seeing a church that's adapting to the ways of the world, instead of standing firm against them. If you want to understand where we're headed and the reasons behind it all, you need to listen to these words. Recently, during a broadcast with Father Gabriel Zaraute, Bishop Athanasius Schneider addressed a fundamental topic of Catholic theology, the immutability of God. Based on the concept of divine omnipotence, he explained that God can do everything except that which contradicts his essential nature. He cannot lie or change. From this premise arises a crucial question. If God remains immutable, how can the Church, his mystical body, undergo radical transformations? Today, both in the Church and in the world, the idea reigns that everything is subject to change. The dominant idea is that of constant change, as if truth could be molded according to the times. Bishop Schneider recalled the atmosphere of the years immediately following the Second Vatican Council, when it was believed that every aspect of faith and church rules could be reformed. Even then, the young theologian Joseph Ratzinger observed with concern how the very concept of doctrinal stability was being questioned. Today, the outlook seems even more critical. The recent synod on synodality, for example, has generated more doubts. The term synodality is ambiguous and without clear limits, evoking a fluid and undefined process. Schneider compared this drift to what Zygmunt Bauman called liquid modernity, a phenomenon that, besides affecting civil society, has also invaded the Church. The consequences are obvious. Truths that were once considered unshakable are now being questioned. Not only has the celebration of the traditional Mass been forbidden, an unprecedented decision, but there is also talk of blessing same-sex unions and radically reforming the church hierarchy, transforming the Church into a democratic institution, where decisions are based on consensus instead of fidelity to revelation. But if everything is subject to change, what's left of faith? If we accept that doctrinal truths can be modified, we are acknowledging, without saying it clearly, a relativism that denies the existence of absolute truth, Schneider stated. He highlighted how this perspective is actually shaping up as a form of neo-paganism, where religion adapts to historical circumstances instead of remaining anchored to that eternal truth. The danger, according to Schneider, is clear. A Christianity that adapts to the impulses of the world loses its own identity and the power of the gospel. If the Church abandons the clear and firm proclamation of the truth, it risks reducing itself to a mere social institution, lost in its supernatural mission. The bishop has illustrated a phenomenon that he considers extremely disturbing: the use of church discipline to silence priests and bishops who defend tradition. He has called attention to the case of the traditional Latin Mass, which was once the center of Catholic liturgy, which today, paradoxically, is considered by some groups as an obstacle to be eliminated. The Church has never forbidden an authentic rite that has formed generations of saints, he emphasized, highlighting the inconsistency of such a decision. But the problem goes far beyond the liturgy. Schneider has warned about the danger of a church that conforms excessively to the demands of the world, forgetting its supernatural vocation. In his opinion, the insistence on a synodal and democratic church is nothing more than an attempt to reduce faith to a human system where doctrine is formed by consensus instead of being received as an unchanging divine gift. If the Church becomes just another social organization, it will no longer be the Church of Christ, he warned. Monsignor Schneider then addressed another crucial aspect of the current crisis: the loss of the sacred. According to him, the doctrinal and liturgical confusion that afflicts the Church today stems precisely from forgetting that the Catholic faith is not a human construct, but divine revelation passed down through the centuries. Once this principle is questioned, every element, even the most basic ones of the liturgy and doctrine, becomes questionable. He has observed how, in recent decades, the idea has spread that the Mass should adapt to modern sensibilities, making it more accessible and less solemn. A transformation that has progressively desacralized the rite and weakened the perception of the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Reducing the liturgy to a simple community gathering risks making us forget that the Mass is, above all, the sacrifice of Christ renewed in a non-violent way, he explained. For him, the liturgical crisis is at the heart of the crisis of faith. If the faithful stop recognizing what is sacred, they will also end up losing their understanding of doctrine and morals. From here comes the urgency of rediscovering the liturgical tradition, not as a matter of aesthetics or nostalgia, but as an essential tool for keeping authentic faith alive. Schneider continued his reflection, urging resistance to this relativistic drift and assuring the faithful that they are not alone in this battle. He reminded us that there's still a vital part of the Church, untouched by worldly thinking, that bravely keeps defending the truth. However, he warned that the path will not be easy. Whoever opposes this doctrinal revolution is often isolated, labeled by some as rigid or nostalgic for a past that must be overcome. Schneider drew a parallel with the sufferings and persecutions endured by many saints in the history of the Church, when defending the authentic faith carried a high price. He emphasized that, even in the most difficult times when doctrinal confusion reigned, God has always raised up faithful witnesses capable of defending the integrity of the faith. We must not be afraid to be a minority, he declared. In salvation history, divine action has always manifested itself through small groups of faithful, rather than through a mass that yields to worldly pressures. Bishop Schneider reaffirmed that the truth is indestructible, and that, despite the current crisis, the authentic faith will continue to be passed on. He urged the faithful to keep hope alive, staying rooted in prayer, in the sacraments, and in a solid formation, without getting carried away by the confusion of the moment. Finally, he called for a true alliance of common sense, not only among Catholics, but also with anyone who recognizes the value of objective truth and the natural order. What did you think? If you liked the video, comment Amen. God bless you.